This is the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport briefing for Friday, May 1st. Ringing in May, and we did have a few new fire starts on the smaller side here in these red circles, and quite a bit of fire activity up in central to northern Utah in the last couple of days. One of them, I believe it was the Goshen fire, did run several hundred acres up in heavier brush. But, it's that time of year. We see some of that, and we do see quite a bit of prescribed burning in central and northern areas, especially across the Great Basin. Precipitation over the past 7 days across central areas, actually from southwest to northeast, was the heaviest axis of precipitation. Moderate to maybe locally heavy amounts of a ½ inch to, in some pockets, an inch, extending into the Tetons, missing much of the higher terrain of Idaho and also northwestern Nevada. Percent of normal, many areas still drier than normal for the past week in those areas, wetter than normal axis across that same region we're talking about. Now, the flash drought index, I decided to look at a 1-month version, does show that continued epicenter across our southern areas, moderating, getting more moderate short-term drought values across central areas, and nothing at all really across northern Nevada and much of western and northern Idaho, as that's where we had the most frequent amount of showers. Now, our snowpack map, probably not worth showing too much anymore, except that it basically little to no snowpack in our southern, even central areas. It is in the Idaho mountains where it's still holding up around 70% or so of normal, 60% in the Tetons. And again, normal as you get into May is really not that much. So this map is probably going to start losing its relevancy very quickly. Now, current fuel conditions, ERCs, we'll look at some northern areas. And so this is in western Idaho. And you can see the ERCs have started drying out where this blue line ends. And then the green line is the projection. And the projection over the next 7 days is for ERCs to reach record high levels for this time of year, maybe on a par for late June averages. So we're going to see quite a bit of drying up north, and we'll get into the details why. But looking polar opposite down into the far southeast corner, same story for different reasons. Fuel's also drying out almost to record levels, getting towards the 87th or so percentile. That'll put us basically into late May or early June normal fuel levels. So things will be drying out. 10-hour fuels across the region. We do see some of the driest areas in the upper single digits in the far south. Otherwise, mostly hanging around 10-12% in central areas and quite a bit higher as you head further north. Now, the upper level map for today shows high pressure starting to build in across much of the area. It's kind of sandwiched between two low pressure areas, and this one low over southern Utah, northern Arizona could produce some isolated showers or thunderstorms run along the Arizona-Utah border, but that should be about it as everyone dries out. Excellent overall dispersion since we're kind of still in the vicinity of low pressure and the days are getting a lot longer, a lot more heating. Looking at winds on the left-hand side, transport winds, light to locally moderate, where you see the darker shades of green, where sustained winds could be somewhere around 15 miles an hour. Otherwise, lighter winds. You can see the humidity, upper single digits in the far southern areas, mid-teens further north, and upper teens to low 20% range as you get into the mountains of Idaho and western Wyoming. So, again, drying trend beginning. Transport winds quite a bit stronger as you would expect. In some of these transport winds could be showing ridgetop gusts somewhere close to 30 miles an hour. We see the orange. Vertical mixing heights looking really good, 4,000 to 6,000 feet, so or some places even higher. So the smoke's going to have a large vertical extent to grow from any prescribed burning. Now Saturday, high pressure kind of in control over the region. We do have a low pressure area with fairly dry air around. This is typical as you get into May. You get these low pressure areas off the Pacific, but they don't tend to have much moisture with them at that point. It's not until they come in a little closer that they tap some warmer moisture out of the Baja to create some more precipitation. But there could be some instability showers, a little bit, or at least some cumulus buildups here across Utah. The best chance of shower activity will be probably right off the Sierra front. Uh, Excellent overall ventilation. Surface winds, again, really not too much, except a little bit breezier along the western portions of Nevada. Humidity, same story, bone dry. Mid to upper single digits down south. Low to mid-teens further north, even like 12% up by McCall. So definitely a significant drying trend. That's kind of what we saw in those fuel charts. Saturday, the transport winds a little stronger, but still nothing crazy in western Nevada. Fairly light winds everywhere else as high pressure builds in. Good overall vertical mixing. Now on Sunday, that low pressure area deepens a little bit. It starts tapping some moisture finally from some of the warmer waters south of Baja and pulling up from wrapping it around across the region. So we do see more in the way of rain. So scattered showers in southern and western areas becoming a little more prevalent. Vertical mixing still good in most areas. Humidity does show a bit of an increase, maybe by 5 or 10% from the previous day, but still fairly dry. You see the wind starting to pick up a little bit across western Nevada, especially on the transport winds. You can see some ridgetop wind gusts of maybe 30, 35 miles an hour. Vertical mixing, again, looking really good. So precipitation days 1 through 3. It's going to be more towards that day 3 period that some of that light shower activity starts developing, but amounts fairly light, a couple hundredths of an inch where you see the light green. Heaviest amounts will be along the Sierra and mostly the western slope of the Sierra at this point, but that could change. Now, on Monday, the low pressure area is off the central California coast, the axis of moisture across northern Nevada, northern Utah at that point. We then see the low kind of drop down and the moisture starts falling apart. And we start seeing a big ridge of high pressure starting to develop early next week. And that ridge of high pressure becomes the dominant weather feature, much warmer, much drier across many areas from west to east, especially in northern areas. It's going to kind of build up over this low. And this low starts weakening, maybe some scattered showers starting to move down towards near Vegas and areas down south. But otherwise, most areas starting to dry out with a bit of a cooler northeasterly wind flow. Excellent overall ventilation. And next Thursday, again, the low pressure area weakens and is out of here. It is the big high pressure ridge building in across the western U.S. that is going to be the main weather feature for quite some time. That's why our fuels are going to show a considerable drying trend as we go into the latter half of next week. Precipitation days 4 and 5. And so this will be a little bit of moistening before that really prolonged dryness takes hold. Light to locally moderate precipitation, 1/10 of an inch, maybe pockets of 1/4 of an inch, not too much in these central areas, but southern areas, northern areas stay mainly dry, days 4 through 5, and then days 6 and 7, that's going to be basically Wednesday morning through Friday morning, everyone dries out, and we're going to be dry for quite some time. 7-day precip totals, we put everything together, is right here, and the 8 to 14 days shows a significant warmer than normal trend going into the second week of May. Also drier than normal across northern areas, near normal across central and western areas. But remember, near normal for early to mid-May is really not much precipitation. There'll be some lingering precipitation chances in the south, so maybe towards the Four Corners area, some more chances of some spotty showers for 1 or 2 days during that time period. Do want to remind everyone, it's the first of the month, the seasonal outlook for May through August 2026, now available if you go to our Outlooks page on our Great Basin webpage. You can click on the YouTube briefing and hear 6-7 minutes or more of the seasonal outlook and why we made our decisions, or you can look at the hard copy by pressing the PDF image down here on the screen. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday.